In the old days, they didn't care. You know, they didn't care how accessible. I'll put it on my Facebook tomorrow, God willing. I trust this page emphatically because I actually know the guy who wrote it. He's one of my Facebook friends, and he's a Chashav Rav, and I trust him, and I know I can trust everything in there, and all the links that they have, like to asknoah.org or asknoah.com or whatever it is, you can trust it. Anything that he links to, you can trust. All right. Finally, can I get to this thing?
Yeah.
There were some questions that were asked by people. I said, ask me on my Facebook. I said, hey, ask me questions in advance on the topic, and I'll cover them really fast.
Right.
So the first one was, does the Messiah come faster if the non-Jews follow the 7 mitzvahs b'nai Noach? And the answer is, according to Lubavitcher Rebbe, yes. And that was a big chiddush for him to say, because from what I have seen, from what limited amount I've studied, I mean, maybe somebody can pull some Rishon out who says the same thing, but from what I've seen, the Rebbe didn't even talk about this until late in his life, right before he died. I mean, nobody was talking like this. Like, when in Jewish history have we ever said, let's tell the Goyim what to do?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, the only thing we care about the Goyim is they shouldn't kill us.
Yeah.
It's not a Jew thing to go, hey, Mr. Goy, how about keeping the 7 mitzvahs? You know, it's like, how about just don't kick my ass? You know, don't rape my wife, don't kill me, don't burn down our village,
right?
right?
My children.
Yeah, you know, it's like, so the idea of spreading the 7 mitzvahs of Noach never existed ever since the Torah was given. It's just not happened. But the Rebbe started this idea, in the 80s. You know, when he died in 94, 84 he went to Reagan. So I say it was the last 10 years of his life. This is his thing. So I would say yes. He said yes. Number 2, the question was asked: what about a non-Jew who keeps kosher? Or what's their status? Well, the answer is they can't really keep kosher when you're not Jewish.
Yeah.
You can't keep kosher. You can have a kosher diet. That's what you can have. You can have a kosher diet, and anybody can do that.
Kosher style.
You can have kosher style, but you can't keep kosher. And here's why: it's a catch-22. To keep kosher means according to Jewish law, right? So according to kosher law, you need somebody who's going to take responsibility, who's required by those laws to keep it. Well, non-Jews are not required to keep kosher.
Yeah.
They can have pork.
Yeah.
A non-Jew is allowed to eat pork, which I think was also a question.
Yeah.
Do they have to follow a kosher diet? And the answer is no. A non-Jew can eat pork, and for that reason, because non-Jews are not required to keep any dietary laws. They can have pork, shellfish, mixed milk and meat, no problem. They're not trusted in their own kitchen.
Yeah.
They're not trusted in their own kitchen halachically. According to Torah, a non-Jew keeps kosher in his kitchen. Can you eat there? And the answer is no. Because he's not required to. We need somebody who's required to keep kosher.
Yeah.
He'd
have to have a full-time Jewish cook who provided.
Oh, you know what you could have? You could pay a frummy to come in and take responsibility for his kitchen.
Yeah, and turn the oven on.
I'd be the mashgiach.
And prepared the food.
And I would there's that. But even if you didn't, even you had all your food coming in from
Pat's
catered, there's still a problem when it gets into your kitchen because there's no one there there's no one there who keeps kosher to supervise this thing, right? So it's a catch-22. So if they had a Jew living there who was but then it's not really the non-Jew keeping kosher; it's the Jews keeping kosher, just mooching off of them. But that's the problem. So it's a catch-22. And lastly, somebody asked me about ger toshav. Ger toshav. You familiar with this expression? And the question was, do we have it today? And the Rambam, it's a great question. The Rambam says no, we don't have that anymore. Ger toshav ended when the Sanhedrin ended.
Well, what would say in English what a ger toshav is?
It's the non-Jew who lives amongst you. And they have a special the alien, if you will, who lives amongst you. They have a special status.
Yeah.
They have a special status. They're a non-Jew and they're living amongst the Jews. And they have a special status, but the Rambam says that doesn't apply today. Non-Jews today don't have that special status, because you need the Sanhedrin for that, and we don't have that until the times of Mashiach again. But in the times of Mashiach, we'll have ger toshav. However, there's an interesting thing I saw. There's a thing called a ger chassid. A ger chassid is someone who goes in front of a Beis Din of 3, right? They have 3 rabbis, and he goes in front of them, and he says, I want to keep the 7 laws, the 7 mitzvahs b'nei Noach. I want to keep the 7 laws, right? And I believe that they came from Moses at Mount Sinai, and I believe all that. I'm a Noachide. He's a righteous Gentile.
Yeah.
And he becomes what's called a Ger Chesed. Yeah. And now he can live in Eretz Yisrael. You know what? I give the example of Jack Taylor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jack Taylor is a Ger Chesed.
Yeah.
He's a Ger Chesed. He believes that the 7 laws that, and he'd be willing to go in front of a Beis Din, I'm sure. The 7 laws that came from Moses, the 7 laws of the Noachide laws, came from Moses at Mount Sinai. They're not just things he does because the American government, I don't murder. But the reason you don't murder is because the government tells you not to, right? You go to jail. But he gets them because of Moses, so then he's allowed to live in Eretz Yisrael. Yeah. He's allowed to live there as a non-Jew. Awesome. So, let's give a round of applause for Jack Taylor. He's a friend. All right, what do you want to talk about now? The Parsha?
How about the Parsha?
Okay.
Do you have any thoughts on this week's Parsha, or do you want to take a drink? And
you talk. I've yacked.
Okay, so...
I've yacked.
So we're talking this week's Parsha. It's Ra'eh. Starts Deuteronomy chapter 11, verse 26, and runs through Deuteronomy chapter 15. And the thing that I've immediately found interesting about this Parsha is that it starts with Ra'eh, which means see. And normally when Judaism, God, Moses call Jews to attention in the Torah, it says, Shema Israel, here, listen. Because Judaism doesn't trust the eye, because it says elsewhere in the Torah, do not follow your eyes, after which you prostitute yourselves. So the eyes get you into a lot of trouble. And you can see the difference in the difference between, say, talk radio and TV. Talk radio is much more deep because it relies on ideas, while TV is like pictures and exciting pictures and how do people look. You'll think more about how does someone look. Like Rush Limbaugh, it's not a big success on television because he's a big fatso. But on radio, he's the #1 talk radio host because people care more about what he says than how he looks. But on TV, people care more about how people look than what they say. So Judaism, the Torah, tends to have a very big suspicion of the eye. But for some reason, this week's Parsha begins with see, which it's basically a call to understand and to pay attention. But I find that interesting. I think the most interesting thing I find in this week's Parsha is Moses says to the Israelites, what I'm giving you, these commandments, it's a blessing and a curse. It doesn't say a blessing or a curse. It's not like it's either or, but it's blessing and a curse. And that's how life is. Everything in life is a blessing and a curse. Like, I really enjoy doing this Torah talk with Rabbi Rabs. I think most of the time Rabbi Rabs enjoys doing the Torah talk with me. I think we both consider this Torah talk a blessing to our lives, but this Torah talk will be a curse to us in ways that we don't even comprehend right now. Like, everything is a blessing and a curse. It's not just the time that we're spending preparing and doing this Torah talk with you could have been spent in other pursuits, but we have no idea of the consequences. It's guaranteed that this Torah talk that we're doing will be both a blessing to our lives and a curse. It's not even at all clear whether it will be more of a blessing than a curse. I think it will be, but you don't know. So everything, like all your friends, they're a blessing and a curse. They come with certain benefits, but they also come with some huge prices. I get up every morning at 5:56 a.m. My alarm goes off at 5:56 a.m. I immediately get up, and I go in the shower, and I take a nothing but cold shower. Nothing but cold water. So that is very unpleasant. So I'm also out of the house then by about 6:03 a.m. So about 7 minutes after my alarm goes off, I am out of the house, and I am on my way to shul for Daf Yomi, which is a page of Talmud every day. And when I'm waking up and getting in a cold shower and then hurrying off